Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Backcourt Press. I'm your host, Hunter Metnick, here with my co-host, Zach Vinci. Say hello.
What's up, everyone?
It's been a fun weekend or past week when it comes to the NBA. Obviously, a couple days off after the All-Star break, but the All-Star break itself was really fun. I mean, we had a pretty solid three-point contest, a pretty horrible dunk contest, an amazing All-Star game performance in all time, and Backcourt Press, our Instagram page, is up about 150 followers since the last time we talked, which is just really exciting stuff. Um, but before I get started with actually going into all the NBA stuff, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for all the recent support on the Instagram page. It has meant a lot to us. And we're going to actually talk a little bit about the recent stuff we've been posting because I know Zach's doing a fun little ranking all 30 each team's or each NBA team's starting position, whether it's point guard, shooting guard, going through all that. Obviously, the Historian Project is still going on. You love to see we're up to 1974 now, which is just amazing. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't got much to say on that, but I'm just excited to get into the post-merger basketball. I've been spending a lot of time with the pre-merger, and I've also been doing a little ABA side project as well because I finished researching up to 76 earlier, and now I'm getting into the 80s pretty soon. Magic, Larry, I know a couple of my friends here are pretty excited for that. Mostly just because they're sick of watching me watch older film. They want to get some more recent film. But really looking forward to continuing on with that.
Yeah, we also had, the all NBA 70 or all NBA 75 list. I think that's what they call it. So we'll probably talk a little bit about that. So before we get started, feel free to comment anything that you want, whether it's related to NBA, hopefully related to what we're talking about in the present moment. Comments are always welcomed. Without further ado, let's get right into All-Star Weekend. So what was I know you said that you didn't see the skills challenge and the new revamped, we had the rookies versus the Antetokounmpos versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, two of our favorite players, and Jared Allen, we'll say three of our favorite players, walked away with the win. I got to see it. I thought it was a cool way of doing it. With like the team aspect, I thought it was a little bit better than in previous years. I would like to see more people involved because obviously, like someone like Alex Antetokounmpo, who's a part of the G League right now, it's like, why is he? It was also pretty funny because I don't know if you saw this, but the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Milwaukee Bucks were tied, I believe, and it went down to a 3-point shootout. And the Antetokounmpos chose Thanasis to take the three, and then the Cavaliers chose Darius Garland to take the three. Thanasis immediately missed. Garland stepped up and just absolutely nailed it, and that was the end of the skills challenge. So that was an interesting way of doing it, but I thought it was fun. I thought it was an exciting way to like incorporate. The city of Cleveland got their win, and they got to see their players play. So. Yeah, you probably don't have much to say on that because you didn't see it, but
No, but I will say that Alexis Antetokounmpo is going to be the best Antetokounmpo brother.
oh my gosh,
No, he's legit. He's legit though. He's definitely going to be the second best. That's for sure. He's going to
I mean,
be. I think he's going to be a potential all-star in this league. I really like what I see from him.
hot take. So that's really all I got for the skills challenge. Make your passes, guys. I mean, those hoops are ginormous. Those circles. I don't know how an
I think
NBA
it's
player
harder
can
than it
miss those
looks.
passes.
I'm going to say I think it's harder than it looks.
Oh,
I've
I
never
don't know,
actually done
man.
it
Those
before.
passes.
I've never done it
That's
before,
true.
but
That is true.
I feel like it probably is harder than it looks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Those hoops look too big to miss as an NBA. If you worked your whole life to make a pass in the skills challenge, you got to make that pass. You know what I mean?
Fair
Um,
enough.
but
Fair enough.
we'll move on. We'll move on to the 3-point contest. I went into it. I said my sleeper pick was Luke Kennard, and he ended up doing pretty well, so I was happy about that.
That was my winner pick.
But really, that's
That
funny.
was my.
I
That
said
was.
my winner was Trey Young, but I said Luke Kennard was going to put up a close second place, and both of them made it to the finals, but lost to eventual big man Karl Anthony Towns. He put up 29 in the final round. It was an amazing show out. I know his teammate Anthony Edwards was really cheering him on at the end there. I don't know. This is now he made the claim. Karl Anthony Towns, best big man shooter ever.
One or two. I mean, longevity wise, I feel like you have to give it to Dirk Nowitzki as
Yeah,
a big man shooter, especially with his mid range ability. But like 3-point shooting, when I'm taking one big man to make a 3-point shot, Karl Anthony Towns is the best one ever. So
yeah.
depending on how you're looking at it, I think Dirk is still the greatest shooting big man. but Karl Anthony Towns is the best big man to shoot the three ball ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, I see him making that claim, but at the same time, a lot of people, including us, I believe we both have Dirk in our like top 10 shooters of all time.
Mhm.
And it doesn't seem like Cat's really anywhere near that range yet. But
No.
obviously, for being a pure big man, pure center, also because obviously Dirk played the power forward. We have like Kevin Durant who plays the power forward. Being a true center and a stretch five center
Mhm.
is really
Mhm.
impressive coming out of Karl Anthony Towns.
And I think Cat's a better 3-point shooter than Dirk ever was.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean
think that's
Dirk's got
if
that
you,
post fade mid range that's just
oh,
unstoppable.
that's beautiful. I love that move. But yeah, I mean, they're 1 and 2, just depending on what you value more. If you value longevity, you value what they did for a long period of time. Obviously, Dirk's still the best big man shooting ever. But if you just value what big man do you want to take three for you, I think I'm taking Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing here. And then we'll move on. So there was our 3-point contest analysis. You know, it's the same every year. It's just the 3-point contest. The Mountain Dew shot. I really
It's
do like
fun.
the new edition. Yeah, it is fun. The new edition of the
I
Mountain Dew, the Moneyball rack. I really do enjoy it though.
I personally think that they should move, and we'll talk about this in a second. They should move the 3-point contest to the last event of the night. I think they should switch that with the dunk. I feel like other than like the 2 years where Aaron Gordon was in it, the one versus Levine and the one versus Derek Jones Jr., which were two incredible dunk contests.
Ridiculous.
Other than that, the 3-point contest is normally always the highlight of the tournament. Like, I mean, not the tournament, the All Star Saturday night. Like,
Yeah.
normally that ends up being the best event. You get a couple dunk contests here and there that steal the show, but like, make the 3-point contest the last one. That's the most fun. That's the one that gets people out of their seats. I I don't know. Maybe it's just how bad the dunk contest was this year. I'm looking for a little bit of a change, but
Yeah.
I think that it should be the last event of the night.
Yeah, we actually have a quick question while we're talking about the 3-point shootout. Who are your top 5 shooters of all time? I mean, personally, I have my top 3 would go Steph, Clay, and Ray. Clay and Ray are interchangeable, and I know you have. I believe you have Jerry West as the second best shooter of all time.
Mm-mm. No, 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 no,
Oh,
no. I just think you overrate Clay so much. I don't have Clay in my top five.
oh
For me,
wow,
it's Steph, Reggie, and Ray. It's Steph like legions above everyone else, and then
yes,
Reggie and Ray make up tier two, and they're legions above whoever you put it for. Um, I'd probably go with Jerry West and Larry Bird at my 4 and 5, but I think Steve Nash has a good case. I think Clay
yeah.
has a decent case to be top five. Um, that's probably my top seven in some order.
I'd probably have a similar. I'm trying to think if like I might put Durant in there, but I can't see a case for
Mhm,
Durant over any of the guys that you named.
mhm,
Not yet. Like I know a lot of people were comparing like Bird and KD, and I definitely
yep,
take Bird when it comes to shooting.
yep,
Um, Yeah, I say the top 7 you named. I have a different order because I mean I'm a Warriors fan. I love my Klay Thompson. I
yeah.
would probably put Ray Allen second. I'd put Klay third, Reggie fourth, and I mean trust me, I've heard enough from you about Jerry West that I'd probably put him fifth now, and I'd put him in the top 5. I'd probably
Let's
have Bird
go.
a little bit higher than Nash.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's actually a tough call, but it's
Both
they're so
incredible.
close and
Yeah.
interchangeable.
Yeah, and then also I want to also mention a couple guys who like aren't superstars but incredible shooters. Obviously Steve Kerr,
Yes,
JJ Redick, Kyle Korver, Peja
J.R. Smith.
Stojakovic, Peja Stojakovic. All those guys were in their primes were top 2, 3 shooters in the NBA. And obviously they're not superstars like the other guys we mentioned, so they're probably never going to make a top 5 on that list. But Mark Price, another one, he was an all star,
Mhm.
but those are guys who are also amazing shooters that don't normally get as much recognition. JJ
Yeah,
Redick,
great.
especially. I love JJ.
Yeah, great way to answer that question, given more
Yeah.
insight than you'd think. Now, so we'll move on from the 3-point contest to the dunk contest. We did see a fantastic dunk to end it. I will say that, as much hate as it's going to get, I thought the Obi Toppin off the glass dunk was pretty impressive. Um, the more I looked at the replay, the more I realized he kind of just banked in the shot, though. He didn't really keep that much control through the rim, which obviously it ruins the point of the dunk, but it was still nonetheless a fantastic dunk. But I mean, we saw Jalen Green missed 17 dunk attempts in a row.
Oh
Uh,
my
we
god. It
saw
was
Juan
painful.
Toscano Anderson not think that he was even going to make it to the finals, so he didn't even have a
Oh
dunk
my
prepared
god.
for the finals. Cole
Oh my
Anthony
god.
pulled out Tim's for his first dunk and then missed 3 in a row. Um, what can be changed about the dunk contest? I know we talked a little bit about this before. But what do you think can happen? Because I know in the past years, it's back when they're going to like the Jordan Dominique days, it was literally one dunk. That's it. You get one attempt, and that's all you'd get. Um, what can change to make the dunk contest more fun
First,
nowadays?
first off, I will say that Juan Toscano Anderson literally made it to the finals, and I still think he might be the worst contestant in dunk contest history that we've ever seen.
Yeah, he
That
was
was just
horrible.
absolutely atrocious watching him. I wanted to bleach my eyes out watching that. That was awful. Um, and then also about Obi Toppin too. I thought his championship round dunks were also awful. Um, but what I will say is I think Obi Toppin does deserve it because he did have the two best dunks of the night, and I think they were
Hmm.
both his first two dunks in the first round.
Hmm.
Um, the one where he did the behind the back off the over the guy, I thought
Yeah.
was fantastic. Even though he was a little short, probably could have made a taller guy. It's fine. Um, and then he also did the other one. I don't even know what he did, but it was like a between the legs, like spin in the air that looked so clean,
Yeah.
and he did it first try. I thought that was incredible. And that to me was the best dunk of the night, and I think that could have almost gotten a 50. Um, but yeah, then we got to the championship round. It all went to shit from there. Everything else was awful after that.
Yeah.
But in terms of answer, sorry, I wanted to go off on that.
No, you're fine.
To answer your question, I definitely think that they allow too many dunks nowadays. I think you got four contestants. I think that's still a good amount. Four contestants. Each person gets two attempts. You miss your first one, you get one more, and you miss that one, you're done. I think it prolongs it too long by giving these guys too many chances, and I think people will also try to do dunks that they know they can make if they only get two attempts, um, which might lead to less incredible dunks. Some might say, but like if you went back and you watched 2016 or 2020, Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine, these guys were doing it on their first try every single time.
Every time.
Even if you go back to dunk contests in the early 2010s, like these guys were making it on their first or second try every single time. So I don't think it's that absurd to say that you should get rid of all these extra attempts that guys get because up until like 2 or 3 years ago, guys were making it on their first or second attempt every single time. So eliminate
Yep.
all the other attempts guys get. Um, and I think another part of it is what's making it go bad is because it's not the big name guys anymore. And I
Yep.
know big name guys don't want to compete in the dunk contest anymore, and they haven't really wanted to for the last 10 years or so. And it's mostly just the young guys now. But like I think that gets less excitement around the contest because it's a bunch of guys that a lot of people don't know. Um, and I don't think these guys take it very seriously. I don't think a single one of those four guys who were in that dunk contest this past weekend even practiced for it. I really don't. Like, how can you be Jalen Green and go out and practice that dunk and then miss it every single time when you do it in the actual
Yeah, I
thing?
mean, obviously, Josh Christopher did not practice his pass because that
Yeah.
was the worst passing attempts I've ever seen for off. I mean, I could make that pass in my first try if I really wanted to, but
Like I feel like these guys are just going out there just like, oh, we got selected. Let's go out there and see what we can do. And like they're not even practicing, they're not even trying for it. And I just think it makes the contest weak as a whole. So I think you need to get better contestants, guys who are going to actually put their best effort in. I thought in particular, Jalen Green and Cole Anthony were really bad selections for the contest because these are two young stars who I didn't think are going to put any effort into the contest because
yeah.
they're focused on furthering their career, on developing their future superstars, their future all stars most likely. So
Jalen Green, calling him a future All-Star.
probably I don't know. He might not be, but I don't. But I mean, I don't know. I thought the selections were terrible. I think they need to reduce the amount of dunks people get. Um,
Yeah, so what are
yeah.
you what are
What do
you
you think?
calling a dunk attempt? Because I know like Jalen Green, he technically missed 3 attempts, but those 3 attempts were technically like, you know what I mean? He he
If you,
he only
if
dunked
you
3 times.
if you go up and you try to put it down, that's an attempt. If you
See,
try to put
here's
it
the
down,
thing. I
that's an
I agree
attempt.
with you with that, and I agree that you should get 2 attempts for that. But I think the idea that having the passer mess up so many times in a row completely just ruins the excitement as well. So it's like I don't know if they should input like keep that aspect of it where I mean if you get like 5 pass attempts and you haven't made the pass in 5 attempts, then what are we doing? Like then you got to change something
Yeah.
up because
Well,
then it's just getting way too long.
that's why you have to practice. It's simple as
Yeah.
that. Like, these guys aren't practicing this. They're not. I mean, obviously, this is a mute point because we're talking about the dunk contest here, which obviously guys are not going to put their biggest effort into the dunk contest. But honestly, you can't go to the gym for 30, 45 minutes one day and practice these dunks. That's all it
Yeah.
takes. That's all it's gonna take. And I don't know. It's just frustrating to watch. I just feel like these guys aren't putting the effort in, and they're not really trying to put on a show for the audience. They're just kind of doing their thing and trying to have fun with it, which I know that's what All Star Weekend's about. But it's also about entertaining the fans. So either you make a couple adjustments to the contest, or you scrap it as a whole and replace it with something else.
Yeah, I that was gonna lead me right into my next point where I know I told you I think a poster contest would even be pretty fun where you have like 5 of the best blockers like Jared Allen, Joel Embiid, some of those guys, best blockers in the league, and you put them up even like Taco Fall, you put Taco Fall in there because he's a fan favorite. And you go up against the guys that love to poster players like Anthony Edwards, John Morant. Those guys are known for their in-game dunks because they dunk over people. So why not
Mm.
include more, make it like a battle where it's like, do the blockers win or do the dunkers win? So I think implementing something like that, I don't know. They just need to change it. There's been too many years in a row now where it's been very disappointing. And obviously, Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon put on like the greatest show I think we could have ever asked for. And
And
since then,
Gordon
it's just been downhill.
Gordon Gordon and Derek Jones Jr. almost did it again. I thought that was the second best dunk contest I've ever watched. Like,
Yeah,
and I've watched a lot of the older ones too. I mean, Dominique and Jordan's probably still top two also, but that's
yes,
probably at least top five. At least top five. Like that was an amazing contest with two amazing contestants who were doing their absolute best and were doing absolutely crazy dunks every single time on their first try. That's what we want, and that was only 2 years ago. Like that wasn't that long ago.
yeah,
That was 2020. That was 2020. Um, but then the last two just haven't been very good. I think you got to give it one more year with the dunk contest, and if it's as bad next year, because a lot of times there's a down year, we get that every so often we get a down year. So
yeah,
we'll get. I say give it another try next year, and if it's as bad as it was this year, then you scrap it all together. Maybe do the poster one. I've always liked the idea of a 1v1 tournament, but I'm also questioning if players would actually put forth the effort on defense in a 1v1 tournament, or if it would just turn into who can make more 3-pointers and who can make more dunks. So I'm not
yeah.
sure if that would really work, but I think that would be a decent idea if the players actually put the effort in for it. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's really up to the big name players on whether or not they'll do it. Because obviously, seeing John Morant and Anthony Edwards go at it in a dunk contest would be the greatest, possibly the greatest dunk contest ever. But seeing Obi Toppin and Juan Toscano Anderson battle it out is just not what the dunk contest is about. So that's really what it's going to come
Tom
down to in future
Tom
years.
Thibodeau, Tom Thibodeau probably had a heart attack actually seeing Obi Toppin on the floor. It's probably it's crazy for him because
Yeah,
it
he
never
was like, "Hold on,
happens.
why is Taj Gibson not out there in the dunk contests?" I mean, are
Give this
is
man
is
more
that
minutes.
is that Kemba Walker on the sideline? Go back to your seat. You're not allowed to touch the floor. Um,
Alec Burks got to be out there for at least 44 minutes a game.
Exactly. Oh man. Gotta love Tibbs going from a coach of the year candidate to the worst coach in the NBA in just one season.
He is gone after this year, guaranteed. I think that he is gone.
Yeah, he's been horrible.
As he
Let's move
as he
on
is with every
to
team. Sorry, let
yeah,
me
he
stop.
has his one good year. Let's move on to the All-Star game. It was a very competitive game. Like every quarter was very, very close. Obviously, you could see that some of the players weren't playing too great. Really quickly, we have a comment, and I just want Zach to read that because that's funny.
Ben
But
Simmons isn't even a top 5 defender in the NBA today. Yeah, he might not even be
uh,
top 10.
sorry, that's just so funny to
God.
me. The 76ers trade him away, and there he goes. Um, but the All-Star game, I thought it was fantastic. I thought the ending was perfect. I thought Steph Curry putting up 50 in Cleveland was just the greatest thing ever, especially after, Curry, because he's been shooting horribly from the field. His MVP case is all of a sudden down, and then he goes to the All-Star game and shoots 16 threes. Um, LeBron James ending it on one of the toughest shots I've seen in my entire life. That shot looked so difficult, and he just absolutely nailed it in front of Cleveland. Um, what do you think of the All-Star game? What do you think of Team Durant's closing rotation? I know I saw a lot of things about that. I saw a thing real quick. This is so random. I saw that Nick Wright made a claim. You know Nick
Nick
Wright.
Wrong. Nick Wrong.
Yeah, Nick Wrong. He made a case saying he's been known to hate on Nikola Jokic in the past. He said like Jokic was like the worst MVP of all time. He made a claim that Jokic is so bad that you can't play him in the fourth quarter of an All-Star game. And he said that should be a reason why he doesn't win MVP. obviously that has. I don't even want to go into that because that's probably the worst take I think I've ever heard in my entire life. But what do you think? What are your
Jokic
thoughts
was
on the
the
All-Star game as a whole?
first off. Jokic, I think, was 1 rebound and 1 assist away from the first triple double in All Star game history.
But you can't play him in the
Um,
fourth quarter because Jared Allen's from Cleveland and Cleveland wants to watch this guy play. Okay.
I there's just too much stupidity in that comment for me to even address it. Nick Wrong will be Nick Wrong. He'll say that stuff all the time, and he'll always be wrong about it because that's just what he's like. You can't listen to most of these analysts nowadays. They get paid to say terrible things.
Exactly.
Exactly. I was just gonna mention this. Joel Embiid had an incredible performance. And you could argue he was the third best player out there after Curry and Giannis, who are also both just fantastic as always. Um, but yeah, Embiid absolutely put Team Durant on his back. I was joking with my friends that out of the tops, what I think are the certain top 7 players in the NBA in some order, LeBron, Durant, Curry, Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, and Luka. I think those 7 are pretty head and shoulders with everyone else.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And 5 of them were on Team LeBron. 1 of them didn't play, and Embiid was the only one on Team Durant, which just shows you how lopsided the teams were. And
Yep.
Embiid absolutely cooked. He did what he could. He kept it a close game. No one could stop him out there. Just usual Embiid stuff. But this isn't really a fault of the NBA or the All Star Game in general. It's just a
It's just the
kind of.
greatness of LeBron James as a GM.
I was gonna say, like, it's just the fact that the GM is like that, and Kevin Durant doesn't know what the hell he's doing, or he's just a big time troll because he knew he wouldn't be playing, so he just drafted a terrible team on purpose. Um, but that was so lopsided, and that can't happen again. Like, and it was a close game too. But like, I'd rather I want to see more balanced teams. I mean, we've seen Curry, LeBron, and Giannis on the same team for 3 of the last 4 years now. I think so. Let's switch this up. Like, let's get some more fun teams here. Like, I mean, you kind of knew who was going to win that one from the opening tip. So it was a great game. It was fun watching Curry go off. It was fun watching Embiid and Giannis go off. It was fun watching LeBron hit that final shot. And it was just an enjoyable All Star game and all. But let's get back to some more balanced teams. Even if it means going back to East versus West, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I know me and you were both big advocates for having it be an Embiid and Jokic captain-led All-Star game because seeing those two centers and how great they've been, it seems like now we're 2 years in a row where it's just been a huge missed opportunity to have those two guys. I mean, and LeBron James has now won it 5 straight years. We should probably switch it up. LeBron's the GOAT because of it. It helps his GOAT kid. No, I'm kidding.
And the one year that the teams were balanced and it was the best All Star game of the last like at least 7 or 8 years that I can remember was 2020 when Giannis was drafting against LeBron.
Yes.
And that one went down to the buzzer at the last second. Team LeBron won.
Yep,
And
because
it was
Giannis
an
took it
incredible
super
game.
seriously. That's really all it
And
took
and
was
and
just another
and,
captain.
and he picked Kawhi Leonard first. He knew what he was doing.
That's funny. Sorry, I just wanted to put this on the screen because I thought it was pretty funny. As a Sixers fan,
As a Sixers fan, no, I'm sorry. No.
not yet.
It's somewhat close. It's somewhat close, but you got the wrong order there. Jokic is
Oh
still
man,
above,
that's
still
funny.
above. Embiid's got a bit of a ways to go.
Yeah, Embiid's got a good couple playoff runs under his belt before he
Yeah.
can match Jokic's recent playoff years. For the All-Star game, outside of do you like the new format? I see a comment saying they should add a 4-point shot to the All-Star game, so I think that would be kind of interesting. Do you think that there's a better way to run the All-Star game or anything like that, or do you think it's good the way it is
I
right
think
now?
I'm gonna be. I saw a lot of hate on social media for this All Star game because of the players not really trying in the first 3 quarters. But that's how All Star games have always been for the NBA,
Yeah,
and that's never gonna go away because these guys aren't gonna risk an injury in an All Star game, and it makes it more fun for the audience when there's no defense for most of the game, and then when it actually picks up and it gets serious, everyone plays great defense and they actually try. I think that the NBA All Star game is the best one across all sports. I think they do a fantastic job with it. I really like the rule changes with the different quarters winning, and then I
yeah,
love the Elam ending. To me is just beautiful. I love the target
yes.
score. I hate that it can end on a free throw, but obviously that's just what's going to happen most of the time. Usually, we were
Not
lucky
this
that we
time.
didn't get that in this game. Yep.
Yep.
But I think the Elam ending is awesome. I think it's a great addition. I love that they're playing for charity too. I think that's a really good addition to the game. With each team picking their own charity. I think the All-Star game is at its absolute best in NBA history right now. I just think if you could go back to East and West or stop making Kevin Durant a captain, I think you can't get much better than that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think the new format is amazing. And if you really are
Mhm.
if you watch that game, if Steph Curry misses about 3 or 4 threes that game, Kevin Durant's team is probably winning. Because
Probably. Yeah.
it was so funny because you look at the quarter score and you wouldn't even realize because Curry was going off so much, but Team Durant was coming down the other end and scoring every single time too. So it was like a very well balanced. I mean, it was a 1 point game going into the fourth quarter, which I thought was like really close and really fun to watch.
Mhm.
I was super happy about that because then I was like, damn,
Mhm.
they're actually going to be playing defense in the fourth quarter, which was fun. And although Curry just decided to chuck off threes and unfortunately miss breaking the record by 1 3, it was still a fantastic game. I thought the ending was perfect. I thought just everything about it was really fun.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Although it was funny. It was funny hearing Skip Bayless say that um, the reason Steph Curry isn't a top 10 player of all time is because he couldn't hit shots in the fourth quarter when defense was actually being guarded on him.
Gosh, Skip Bayless, man, he's something else. Uh,
Speaking of Skip, did you see just a quick little aside. Did you see his
yeah, go
top
for it.
10 of all time?
I
Did you
did
see he
not.
released yesterday? He had LeBron at 9. And then
Oh,
he said he had
that's
Curry,
the only thing I saw about it.
and then he also said Curry was outside of his top 20, and he has Bill Walton all time ahead of Steph Curry, which as a big Bill Walton guy was just absurd.
I'm looking at this list right now. So he has Wilt at 10,
Yep.
LeBron at 9, Larry Bird at 8, Kobe at 7, Bill Russell 6, Tim Duncan 5, Kareem 4, Shaq over Magic at 2, and Michael Jordan at 1. Man, this
And
guy's
he
something
and he said
else.
he had Bill Walton ahead of Steph Curry.
Jeez, and that's coming from the biggest Bill Walton fan I've ever met right here. So
Mhm. Yeah.
gosh,
Anyway,
he is
sorry, that
something.
was a little aside. Yeah.
No, you're good.
But yeah,
I'm
no,
happy. I'm happy you looked over that because that's horrible.
awesome All-Star
For
game. I loved it. I love the format. I love everything about it. It's a great game. It's like I said, to me it's the best All-Star game across all major sports. I think they do it perfectly in the NBA.
Yeah, that's perfect way to wrap up All Star Weekend. I thought it
Mhm.
was a great comeback from the dunk contest and everything. I thought it was a
Mhm.
great ending. Um,
Mhm.
really quickly before we're gonna get into some recent backcourt press posts on Instagram and talk about that. But before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about the NBA and what's going on right now because I know um our posts aren't really going to be talking about like the NBA today and everything like that. But today is the day that James Harden's going to suit up for the Philadelphia 76ers. I know obviously I go to college in Phil. I go to Temple University, which is in Philadelphia. So a bunch of my friends and I was also a sports management major. So it's perfect because everyone I'm around is always Philadelphia sports fans. And this morning I woke up at 7 a.m. to a text message in one of my group chats for a class saying, Happy James Harden Day. Just because everyone in Philadelphia is so excited. The 76ers play the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. They currently sit at the 3 seed, 3 games behind the Chicago Bulls. What's your prediction for this newly led James Harden Philadelphia 76ers?
I'm so excited. I This is a new era of Sixers history. This is the first this is the second time in my lifetime since I've been a Sixers fan, which is since like 2013. This is the second time in my life I think we're actual contenders to win a chip. And the other time was in 2019 when we had Jimmy Butler and we faced
Yeah.
off against the Toronto Raptors. In my and that the Jimmy Butler saga lasted for like I think 3 months, if that.
Yeah.
He played like I think 40 games in the regular season for us and then the
It
playoffs.
could be the same thing with Harden.
Um,
He couldn't pick up that player option.
don't even think about that. So yeah, in my lifetime, the Sixers have been contenders for a total of about 2 months. So to actually believe that we can contend for a title again, I think we're a top 5 team in the league right now. I was telling my friends the other day. I think there's a lot of really good teams out there, and I think to me the Sixers are among the 5 best, which to me are the Suns, Warriors, Sixers, Bucks, and Heat. I think those are your 5 teams that I
I
think have
agree.
the most legit shot to win a championship. And I think the Sixers are right among that mix. And I think you can order them any of them 1 through 5. I think they're all really close. I think they all bring really different stuff to the table, and I think they all can legitimately contend for a title.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna
And
let's play a little game.
the Sixers weren't there before that.
True. Let's play a quick game before this. Before we get into anything else. 7-game series predictions. Who
Mhm.
wins and how
Okay.
many games?
Okay.
So say the Chicago Bulls face off against the Philadelphia 76ers in the playoffs. What's that series looking like?
Sixers and 5.
Okay.
I'm so against the Bulls. The Bulls are not going to win a playoff series this year. You can mark my words. The
Oh
Bulls.
wow.
You want to know? I'll name you
Bulls
6 teams who will
Bulls
beat.
versus Nets. Bulls versus Nets. Who
I will
wins?
name. I will name you right now 6 teams who will beat the Nets, who will beat the Bulls in a playoff series in the Eastern Conference: the Sixers, the Bucks, the Heat, the Nets, the Raptors, and the Celtics. All 6 of those
Not
teams
the
would
Cavaliers.
beat. The Cavaliers would come close, but I don't think they would.
Okay. The
But
Atlanta
I'm
Hawks.
no, no. The Hawks are bad. It's Trey Young and no one else. And as much
It
as I
is.
think Trey Young is that guy, like I don't think he can carry them all the way. And I think the East is a lot stronger than it was last year.
I agree. So let's see. 76ers versus Nets. I know that's gonna be the most hated thing you'll ever talk about, but how many
I'm
games do you think the Sixers win?
I think it depends a lot on context. Is Simmons playing?
I would
Um,
say let's say
is
fully healthy.
is Kyrie's playing all 7 games?
It
Simmons is
seems it
playing.
seems like it seems like with the new New York rules that he will be able to play all in Brooklyn in the playoffs. So we're gonna go off of Kyrie playing all
So
7 games, Durant playing all 7 games, Ben Simmons playing all 7 games, even
with
let's say Harden playing 7 games.
with Simmons in the lineup, I think the Sixers definitely win. Without Simmons, I think it's pretty close.
Okay. My buddy
Um,
Yoni says Sixers in 6 against the
that's
Nets.
probably what I would say. Sixers in 6 or 7. I don't. I don't like the Simmons fit with the Nets. I see a lot of people saying that this is like a great situation for him. I don't like it at all. I think he's going to struggle a lot with them, especially early on, being so long since he's played. And I think if you the way it's looking right now, I like I don't think he's going to play until maybe the playoffs at least, and then who knows what he's going to look like then, and what role will he have with the team? There's too many chemistry issues. They haven't been on the court enough at all. This team, and I don't trust it. I love Kyrie. I love Kyrie. He's amazing. And yes, Simmons exactly. And I think I've said that a couple times before. So thank you for throwing that one out there. But the only way the Nets will operate well as a team is if Simmons is at the center spot, because you cannot run Simmons with any other center, because then you have 2 guys on the floor who cannot normally Drummond is their center. Then you'd have 2 guys on the floor who cannot shoot outside of 3 feet from the basket, and that is never going to work. In this league
Yep.
today is never going to work. You can never have more than one guy on the floor who can't shoot. So they need to run Simmons at center for that to work.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was talking about the Eastern Conference, we had a little debate going on in the comment section. So I just want to put it up there. We had Michael Medina saying, "Don't forget about the Knicks," and then Zach saying, "Knicks suck." So I thought that was pretty funny because
Knicks
obviously the Knicks are horrible, and
Knicks
we can go into
unfortunately
that.
do suck. Knicks
Yeah, I
unfortunately do
mean
suck.
Julius Randle. I just recently made a post on Backcourt Press about what happened to the Knicks and why everything that we thought would go right in the offseason has just gone wrong. Let's trade for Cam Reddish, a promising young star who played with your star player in RJ Barrett, and let's play him 11 minutes a night in his first 10
Star
games.
player.
For the Knicks, he's a star player. And it's just Tom Thibodeau hasn't worked out. For some reason, Taj Gibson's getting more minutes than Obi Toppin. While we're talking about bad stuff, we have Zach saying Simmons can shoot, so that's out there while we're at it. Just
Well, what league is this guy watching?
yeah, pretty much. So we'll go
Simmons
back.
isn't in college anymore.
We'll go back to what the thing I was talking about. So let's go. I have 2 more playoff series for you, and I think both would be incredible playoff series, but I just want to hear your prediction as a 76ers fan and a realistic 76ers fan. You tend to keep it more realistic than not. 76ers versus the Heat. The Heat would have home court advantage. Who comes out of that series? It's probably going 7. I mean, I don't see it not going 7.
I mean, to me, I've talked about this before with some of my buddies, but the Bucks, the Heat, and the Sixers in a 7-game series, Like I honestly don't
I have the
know
Bucks
who
next,
I would
so
have. I don't know. Like it's so tough. I think the way that we match up with the Heat, that I think they beat us. It's
okay.
kind of weird. I think the Heat beat us. I think we beat the Bucks, and I think the Bucks beat
Ooh,
the Heat. Like that's kind of the
okay.
best way I can put it. I really do, but I think all of them are going 7. I think these 3
Yeah.
teams are all so close to each other. The Heat's defense is by far the best in the NBA. They're so elite on the defensive end, especially when they're fully healthy.
And they can just
The
shoot
Sixers,
lights out.
yep, the Sixers have the best duo in the NBA in my opinion. Harden and Embiid, two top 10 players in the NBA, two absolute studs, two superstars who are going to be so hard to stop on the offensive end. And then the Bucks, you have who I think is the best player in the world, Giannis Antetokounmpo, with a great
Yeah.
supporting cast. Drew Holiday's had one of the best seasons of his career. Chris Middleton's had a bit of a down year, but we know what he does when it comes playoff time. They got a good supporting cast. Grayson Allen, Bobby Portis, both have had great years. Um, these 3 teams all are so strong, and I think one of the keys for Philly will be is what they do with their 5th starting spot on the floor. Because obviously you'll have Maxey, Harden, Tobias, and Embiid starting and getting most of the minutes. I don't think Matisse Thybulle will be able to play much in the playoffs. I think he's going to have to take a limited role in the playoffs. Um, I completely disagree. The way our offense works, Matisse Thybulle shoots 25% on open threes this year,
Open threes. I
and
saw that stat.
wide open threes,
Like
25%
with
from
with
3.
no one within 6 feet of him.
With Harden and Embiid on the floor, everybody is going to be throwing doubles. Can you imagine the Heat throwing like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo at Joel Embiid, or the Bucks throwing Giannis
He's not
and Chris
scoring.
Middleton? Like
He's not
that's not going
scoring.
to happen. Matisse Thybulle either needs to become a better 3-point shooter, or he's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to get minutes in the playoffs. I think we're going to have to run more Danny Green, more George Niang, more Furkan Korkmaz, guys who will just stand there and get open threes, because the amount of playmaking our offense is going to have
Isaiah
now
Joe.
with Embiid. Yeah, even Doc Rivers hates Isaiah Joe, so he's probably not going to get minutes. But the way Embiid and Harden's playmaking is so strong. Like you have two top 10 playmakers in the league right now. Everybody else that isn't Harden and Embiid are going to get so many wide open shots. Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris are going to have huge efficiency jumps, I think, because they're going to get wide open shots because of how much defensive attention um, Embiid and Harden are going to
Harden.
get. Yeah, so you got to surround them with shooters, and that's the only way that the Sixers are going to be able to succeed. I think Matisse runs a little role player, gets him out 10 to 12 minutes per game, and that's about it. I don't think he can play in big series against Miami or Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as like a PJ Tucker kind of player, but the thing is PJ Tucker can always on the other end of the
Can
court nail
shoot.
his corner threes.
Can shoot.
And if Matisse Thybulle can shoot 40% from the 3-point from corner 3, like just corner 3,
I,
then I
I
think it's
I'd be
even not even 40%,
I
like 35%.
I was gonna say I'd be thrilled with 35%. Like he's shown zero development on offense through 4 years, and it's making me 3 years. It's been making me so sad because he's so good on defense. He's arguably the best wing defender in the NBA, and you literally cannot have him on the floor in some lineups because of his inability to shoot. And it's so sad because he literally just needs to become a catch and shoot guy and shoot 35% from 3, and he will be able to play 30 plus minutes per game.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I completely agree. So you said the Heat would beat the 76ers in 7. You said the Bucks would probably lose to the 76ers in 7. Heat versus Bucks, you think the Bucks come out on top?
I think Bucks would come out on top again.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be close though
I mean, I
with
think it's
with
gonna be tough for
his
anyone. I think it's tough for anyone to beat the Bucks, but I actually think the Sixers are most equipped in the East.
Yeah, I know, and when I was looking at it, I probably still have the Bucks coming out on top. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I feel like playoff Milwaukee Bucks. Drew Holiday goes under the radar so much until it comes to playoff time when he's gonna. I mean, obviously last year I know me and you completely bashed him in the playoffs because of how horrible he shot the ball. But I mean, he was still incredible on defense,
So much
incredible
better this year.
playmaker. He's been so good this year. And then even Chris Middleton, he's just that go-to bucket getter down the stretch, and he's proven to be able to do
So
that.
clutch.
Seems like the Bucks are just. It seems like they really are just the team to be in the East right now.
Yeah. I think Bobby Portis is better than Brook Lopez was last year, and I think Grayson Allen is better than Pat Connaughton was last year. So I think
Yeah,
they've actually filled up some of the holes in their starting lineup, and I think they've actually improved in that area. I think their bench is
yeah.
slightly worse now that you got Portis starting instead of coming off the bench. But
Hey, we got Brooke Lopez,
hopefully the
who
addition,
should be
I think,
back by playoff time, though.
and I was gonna say, I think the addition of Serge Ibaka could be pretty big for them down the stretch. He's been there. He's been played big playoff moments before. Even if you're just giving him 12 to 14 minutes off the bench to relieve Bobby Portis at the center spot, I think Serge could be a big asset for them. I loved that trade for them. I thought that was big.
Yeah, I could see it. And even like, Jordan Nwora has come in and played solid
Love Jordan
minutes.
Wara.
Yep,
Love Jordan Wara.
him and George Hill have both come in and played their roles
Mhm.
perfectly off the bench, and these guys are gonna have to step it up come playoff time. But I could see someone like the two of the names we just mentioned, even a Grayson Allen coming out and putting up a 20-point game one in a
Yep.
7-game series and being the difference maker
Yep.
in a game 7 or something like that.
Yep.
So the Eastern Conference is better than I think it has been. It's in a
Amazing.
very, very,
Amazing.
very long time.
And then the West is who will win in the 7-game series between the Suns and Warriors, because no one's even touching those two teams. No one is
No,
even
I can.
touching. You can might as well make that the Western Conference Finals right now. Those are, if not the two best teams in the league, by far the two best teams in the West. And I don't think anyone's even remotely close to them.
Yeah, and even I'm even looking at it right now. It's like if the Nuggets are able to get either of their two stars back, Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr., are they going to be able to defeat the Memphis Grizzlies, who sit currently at the 3 seed with like a Nuggets
Yeah,
Grizzlies
I
7-game
think they could.
series?
I think
I
if
think they
they get
could.
Jamal Murray back, they get Jamal Murray back playing at his best. I think the Nuggets could make a run. But
Yeah,
I
I
think they're
could see
still
it too.
three. I think they're still three. The Lakers are unfortunately, I think, completely eliminated at this point, because there's no way that they jump out of the play-in at this point in the season with how tough their schedule is and AD's injury. And I think best case scenario for them is they jump into like maybe the 7 seed and then lose to the Warriors in the first round or the Suns in the first round, because there's no way they avoid either of those teams down the first round, and they can't beat either of them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then Nuggets or not Nuggets, Mavericks versus Jazz. That's looking like the 4-5 matchup right now. Who you got going? Who you got winning that series?
How
Can
far
Luca
can
can
Luca
Luca
carry
really
these
do
Mavericks?
it?
I think Luca wins his first playoff series this year. I think he'll beat a team like Utah or a team like Memphis or a team like Denver. I think he beats teams like that because I think he's that guy, and I think he's finally gonna play someone that isn't Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs, which will be a huge benefit for him. But that Mavericks team is so goddamn terrible outside of him that
So
there's no
bad.
way that they can win more than one playoff series. But shout out Jalen Brunson. He's actually really good. It's everything outside of those two.
That's a
I love Jalen
perfect,
Brunson.
absolutely perfect transition into our rankings, Zach's rankings of ranking all 30 starting. We'll start with the point guards because that was the first one that we did. I'm going to share the screen, add it right here. Here's the post, everyone. So we ranked all 30 point guards. Obviously, Spencer Dinwiddie is no longer the point guard for the
Yeah,
Washington Wizards. So Raul
that was
Neto,
a no-brainer.
yeah. Let's talk a little bit about like Devontae Graham. I know I saw some comments saying Devontae Graham should be a little higher. I know me and you both absolutely hated this signing in the offseason, and we're both very right about that. So good for us. But what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I summarized it perfectly there. He's extremely inefficient and he's a terrible defender. And for a point guard, he's one of the worst playmaking point guards in the league. All he really he's a bench player. He's not a starter. Like
Yep.
Devontae Graham is a guy who comes off the bench, gets you 25 minutes, and puts up buckets in small doses. He's not meant to be a starter, especially on a team that needs playmaking. They need somebody who can dish the ball to their scoring options, and that's not Devontae Graham. And they also need defense, which isn't Devontae Graham either.
Yeah.
I think Raul Neto is like the doesn't really even count because he's basically a backup. But Devontae Graham is basically the worst starter in the league right now.
Yeah. Hey, if Denny Avdia takes over that point guard role for the Wizards, like I was hoping that they would, that's a better starting point guard than Devontae Graham. I'm gonna move on. I
Yep.
liked your 27. Is it 20? Yeah. Oh, my bad. Your 27 through 25. I thought these were all fair rankings.
Yep. I got a comment with Jackson over Morris, and after rethinking that, I could definitely see that. Morris has had a slightly better season, I think, but that's also because Morris has like a 10% less usage percentage. Reggie Jackson just has the ball in his hands so much, and that's not the role Reggie Jackson should be playing. When Reggie Jackson is playing the role he should be playing, I think he would move up a couple more spots on this list. Definitely ahead of Morris, and then I think he would contend with guys like Smart, Cade, and Giddey.
Yeah, I mean, I loved having Cade and Giddey back to back. You have Giddey higher at the current moment. Do you think that Giddey could have possibly a close to Cade Cunningham kind of career, or do you see
I think you could have
Cade being better?
These are two guys who I think are going to be bona fide all-stars for a majority of their career. I'm in love with Cade Cunningham. I think he's going to be like a quintessential like superstar, like best point guard of his generation type player. And I love Josh Giddey too. Josh Giddey's already top four youngest triple doubles ever.
Yep.
He had I think two in a row one week a couple weeks ago. He can pass, he can rebound, he's actually a decent defender. I think that's one of the most underrated parts of his game is he stays with guys on ball and he's pretty smart off ball defender as well. He just needs to
Mhm.
improve his 3-point shooting, and he's only 19. He turned 19 a couple months ago. He's younger than
Yeah,
us. Like he
that's
has
wild.
so many years to develop, and he's already developing really strongly. So I think at the current moment, I think Giddy's slightly better, but I think Cade is that generational talent type guy who, for the future, there's few guys I'd rather have.
Yeah, and even with the, I know you have Marcus Smart 24, but the Celtics have been absolutely killing it recently, and especially on the defensive side. And we know how much of an impact Marcus Smart has on the defensive side of the
Mm-hmm.
ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Smart's a great defender. I just think the Celtics could use a better playmaker at the point guard spot.
Yeah, let's talk about this right here. Russell Westbrook sitting at number 20. A lot of people probably aren't going to like that, but he has been horrible this year. And if I'm the Lakers, I might have even had Cole Anthony. I might have these couple guys over Russell Westbrook at the current moment. So you want to talk about a little bit about that?
I I was gonna say I got more comments from at least my friends around here saying that Westbrook should be lower than higher. They were thinking 20 is too high for him. But you look at his raw statistics, right? Which I think raw statistics can be very misleading.
I agree.
And I don't really like to go off them most of the time. But he's still averaging 18, 8, and 7.5, which is
Yeah.
very good numbers. And his efficiency has been awful this year. His true shooting percentage is one of the worst in the
Hey,
league, even though he's
all
shooting
I've
like
seen
44%
recently,
from the field.
I was gonna say all I've seen recently on Instagram is that Russell Westbrook's shooting a better field goal percentage than Steph Curry. Everyone, so Russell Westbrook is better than Steph Curry,
Casuals,
confirmed. That shit makes me so mad, dude.
casuals.
So mad.
Curry shoots, I think, like 10% better true shooting percentage,
Dude,
which
I
is
think
a
it's more. I think it's
ridiculous
like
amount.
15% more, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Um, yeah, but I think Westbrook does bring some things to the table. Like he's still a pretty decent playmaker. He still gets down into the lane and can dish out to his guys. And I also use the argument where like obviously on a team like the Lakers, Westbrook is not a good fit. But if you put Westbrook on the Magic or the Pistons or the Thunder, where guys like Cole, Cade, and Giddey are, I think he could make those teams like play-in teams because
Yep.
he's so good at being a floor raiser. When he has the ball in his hands and it's his team, he can dominate and he can be that kind of guy. Anyone looks at his point three on 6, yeah, that is true. He's not as good as his raw stats stay, but his raw stats do still have some meaning. And I think if he was on a team that wasn't the Lakers, where he was on a lower end team, he would elevate them a lot more than any of the guys around him. He's just on a terrible fit team where he's supposed to be playing off ball, and he cannot do that.
Yeah, we'll move on. I saw. I think Mike Conley and Tyrese Maxey are pretty. I think they're fairly rated. I think if Lonzo was healthy this entire year, I think he could have a case over Conley, but I don't see him having a
I
case
agree.
over Maxey just yet.
I agree.
But I want to talk more about the 13 through 16 range because I know that brought in a
Yeah.
lot of comments. Having Kyle Lowry at
Yep.
16, having Tyrese Halliburton over De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, statistic wise, a lot of people don't agree with that. I think D'Angelo Russell should be top 5 minimum, probably top 3. So I want to hear your
37 last night.
23 points in the fourth quarter. Has Fox or Halliburton done that? I don't think so. But talk a little bit about your 13 through 16 rankings. I thought it was pretty accurate though. I don't really disagree that much.
So Halliburton has only played 4 games with Indiana, but I would just like to point out in those 4 games with Indiana, he's averaging 21 points, 4.5 rebounds, 11 assists, and 2.5 steals on 48% from the field and 46% from three. And that is on a team where he is the guy and he has no other stars. And he's
Yep.
dishing it. He's scoring. He's playmaking. He's defending. I mean, this is what I think we're going to be seeing from him for the rest of his career. Numbers like these. He'll be in the double-digit assists at least once in his career, I believe. He shoots so efficiently from three. Like he's a really good defender as well. Like he doesn't have any flaws in his game. Like he can do everything. He's just young and he's just figuring it out right now. I mean, raw statistics are the only thing that keeps him from being any higher than he is. Like he just I don't know, man. He's so good and he does everything right. He does everything you want from your point guard. He's an elite playmaker, an elite 3-point shooter. Like he'll be even higher, I think, next year. Like he just needs to get that exposure. He needs a full season as the main guy in Indiana, and everyone will view Halliburton as a top 10 point guard very soon.
Yeah, and then I know people were saying possibly Lowry over Russell and Fox. I want to hear your thoughts about why you rank them, why you rank Fox and Russell above him.
And I think that could be definitely legit because when it comes to playoff time, I think you definitely have a good case of wanting Kyle Lowry over those two guys. I mean, Russell hasn't been in the playoffs since 2018 with the Nets. Fox has never been in the playoffs before.
Oh, yeah, he plays for the Kings. He never will be.
Yes, 100%. The reason I like Fox a little bit more than a lot of guys do because I just think that the whole situation with the Kings backcourt this year before the Halliburton trade was just an atrocious situation for him. I don't think he had a lot of confidence because I think many people were saying that Halliburton was going to overtake him as the Kings franchise player, which I think
Yeah,
really hurt his confidence as a player. And you could see it. He was having the worst year of his last 3 years for him before Halliburton got injured, and he's been balling since then. I think his numbers have jumped up. His efficiency has jumped up. They're still losing games, but they've also had a brutal schedule since that trade. So I still think Fox can be that guy. I mean, we forget last year he averaged 25 points per game and 8 assists. And I think when we were talking about top point guards last year, I think we had him borderline top five.
yeah,
Like we were discussing him in that top five potential category, guaranteed top 8. So he's fallen off a little bit this year, but I think again next year with a full year as the guy on his team, he could push for top 10. The thing with Lowry is just like he's guaranteed. He's been there. You know what you're going to get from him in the playoffs, where he elevates his team. He's a really good like third or fourth option on a team. Whereas Fox, you kind of want to be the guy on your team, or at least the second guy. So they play such different roles on their teams that I think it's hard to really compare them.
yeah. We'll move on to 12 through 10 range. Damian Lillard
Mhm.
outside your top 10, obviously. He's been a borderline top 10 NBA player, according to the media, not us, but according to the media for a couple of years now. And now he's outside top 10 overall point guards. And I think you can make the case for LaMelo over him. So let's
So
hear, and I have another question for you after you talk about Dame.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people are getting up in arms about when it got to this top 12. But for me, 6 through 12 were so close. I went back and forth on them a lot of times, 6 through 12. I think I moved Kyrie and Van Vliet a couple times. I think I moved Drew and Garland a couple times. I think I had Dame a little bit higher originally, and then I moved him down outside the top 10. Um, and look, I honestly I think I might have actually over underrated Dame a little bit because when Dame is on the court and he's your guy, he's your point guard. There's probably not 10 guys I'd rather have starting for my team than him. Even though he did have a down year this year, but you have to look at the last I think 15 games before he got hurt. He was averaging I think 28 points and 7 assists on back to his usual like 44% from the field.
Yeah.
Um, I know you're not a huge Dame guy. I'm not a huge Dame guy, but I definitely think that he could still contend for that spot as a top 6 or 7 point guard, especially
Yeah.
next year when he's fully healthy again. Hopefully on a new team, that would definitely benefit him. And
Mhm.
then you look at all these other guys. I think Kyrie you also kind of have to separate. Kyrie's only played 14 games this year. He's been fantastic in those 14 games. And like I said, there's not many guys I'd rather have over Kyrie. So that's why I have him 7, even though it's just on a small sample size. Um,
Yeah.
but I really want to look at is to me DeJounte at 6, Van Vliet at 8, Drew Holiday at 9, Garland at 10, and LaMelo at 12. Those 5 really. And I think you could really twist those around in a bunch of different orders. I'm pretty firm on DeJounte being the best of those 5. I'm a huge DeJounte Murray fan, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yep.
And to me, it's so interchangeable. Like Van Vliet, Holiday, Garland, Lamelo, like those 4, you can't go wrong with any of them. They all bring different stuff to the table. Van Vliet's elite 3-point shooting, great passing, great defender. Drew Holiday, super efficient, amazing defender, really good leader as well. Darius Garland's probably a top 5 shot creator for himself and his teammates in the entire league. He's just a pretty bad defender to go along with it. And then LaMelo Ball, who I think doesn't really do one thing as well as any of those other guys do, but he's such a well-rounded player. He can pass, he can rebound, he can shoot, he can defend all at pretty good levels. Even though I don't think he's elite at any one area. Um, it's so close. It's really close between all these guys. And the way I ranked them was really just if I was having a team for the playoffs, which one would I want as my starting point guard? I want
Yeah.
to hear your thoughts on this when you're looking at particularly Van Vliet, Holiday, Garland, and Lamelo. How would you rank those four?
For the playoffs? Is it just for the playoffs, or how would I do it? Is that
Just who would you want? Who would you want as your point guard if you were starting a team and you wanted to win a championship? Which one through four? Which of these guys are you taking for your point
if
guard?
I'm a rebuilding team, I would probably take Lamelo first.
Hmm.
Lamelo and Garland is so close to me because I think Lamelo just changes the entire dynamic of your team where you kind of where Garland's like I feel like Garland you could put on any team and he's going to do every like the exact same thing. Where I feel like Lamelo is more of a guy that you really build your roster around, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but that's really close. If I want to win a championship this season, I think I'm
Hmm.
probably taking Drew Holiday to be my starting point guard. I
Hmm.
just think he completely reshapes not only your offense and playmaking, but your defense as well.
Yeah.
Like I know I just I put on a story like if Drew Holiday's on the Pelicans right now, where would they be in the playoffs? And people were having them above like the Timberwolves, the Clippers, the Lakers, just because of
Absolutely.
what he brings on the defensive side of the ball. So I completely agree with. I probably have Holiday and then Van Vliet. I think Van Vliet's like overall, like just I mean, we saw what he did with Kawhi Leonard. You put him next to a superstar, and he's fantastic, and he's doing incredible things as a point guard this year. And I'm so happy that they finally gave him the keys to the point guard role, because we both of us were very big advocates for saying that he was playing out of position his whole career before this.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I would probably have DeJounte. I know that wasn't a part of the question, but I'd probably have DeJounte
Mm.
first if I'm building around someone,
Yep.
over Garland and Lamelo. But I think those are a very close second and third. Um,
Hmm.
so if I'm like the Thunder, I think having a Lamelo or DeJounte would probably be the direction I'm going. But if I'm the Lakers, I'd want Drew or Van Vliet over
Hmm.
them just because the experience, the defense, obviously both Van
Yep.
Vliet and Holiday are both better defenders than Lamelo and Garland.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, no, you make great points. It really is a toss up right now, and it's so
So
close.
close. It shows how deep the point guard position too is that Lamelo Ball is the number 12 best point guard in the NBA right now,
Yeah,
and like he's an all star. Like that's so incredible.
I
Um,
agree. We'll move
and
on
then
to like
yeah,
these range because this is also, I mean, these two right
and
here. I was so close to being like, oh, I don't know, but it's ridiculously close between some of these top guys.
and yeah, Dejounte Murray, he's my guy. I'm in love with Dejounte Murray. I think he's what everyone thought Ben Simmons was. Like that's what Dejounte is. Like elite. He's a much better playmaker than Simmons ever has been, both in the
Oh my
half court
gosh.
and in the full court. The way he sets up his teammates for wide open shots. He draws the doubles and he dishes out. It's so impressive to me. He's
Yep.
such a good rebounder. I think he's the best rebounding guard in the NBA right now. I really do.
Probably,
Besides
yeah,
maybe James
totally.
Harden, him and James Harden are probably the top two for me. And then his defense is just he just completely locks guys down at the guard position. He gets so many steals. His IQ is so insane. I think that's partly playing for Greg Popovich too as well. But I love Dejounte. He's one of my favorites in the league, and I think he either I don't know if it's going to be on the Spurs where he really makes the name for himself, but
Mhm.
if he can get traded to a contender or if the Spurs can build around him, he's going to be an All NBA point guard for years and years to come.
Yeah, you pretty much said it. He's been fantastic this
Yep,
year. You say he's a 3-point shot away from being among the best players in the NBA, and I think that you could
absolutely.
start to put him in a tier with like John Morant. Obviously, I think he's probably like
If he
right
gets that,
underneath
yeah,
right now. He's right
yeah,
underneath, but I mean, you could put him on any team, and he's going to be putting up 29 and 8 and being
yep.
one of the best defensive players in the league. Talk
Leads
to me
the league in
about your top
steals.
five. Yeah, we talked about enough about the other guys.
I
Let's hear the top five.
so so to me it was pretty no brainer. Steph one and Luca two.
Yeah.
I actually I toyed around with the idea of having Luca one for a bit just because of how insane his recent play has been, and Curry's having a bit of an off shooting year. Raw statistics wise, Luca clears in pretty much every single category. But
Mhm.
again, the impact that Steph Curry has on his team is just absurd. I mean, you watch the Warriors play, the way that he draws the defense and the amount of doubles that he draws, and the way that he spreads the floor. opens up so many wide open shots for his teammates. Steph Curry, I've always said, is arguably the best floor gravity of all time.
Yep.
His playmaking is still top 3 in the league, just because not
Put up
because of his passing.
14 assists last night.
It's not even because of that. I mean, he only
No.
averages 6 assists per game, but it's just the fact that he draws so many defenders because of the way he can shoot the ball that it just leaves wide open guys on the court because of that. That's why Andrew Wiggins had a resurgence. That's why Jordan Poole's had a great shooting season. That's why Klay Thompson's been so elite for his entire career, or part of the reason why Klay Thompson's been elite for his entire career. Klay Thompson would never doing this with anyone else but Steph Curry. I mean, he's that guy. So he's still the number 1 point guard to me. And then Luka, I think, is a pretty firm number 2. Where you're getting into some gray area, I think, is Trey and Ja 4 and 5. To me, CP3 is a pretty firm 5. I can't put him ahead of Ja. I can't put him ahead of Ja or Trey. As big of an impact as he has for the Suns are already an elite team even without him, and I think they're going to continue winning even without him because they have such a good roster built, and I think Devin Booker can handle some of the responsibilities that Paul has been doing.
Yep.
Not to say that Paul isn't incredibly valuable, but I think he's still a step behind Trey and Ja. And this one I think is so close. I will argue for Trey at the moment because say what you will about his defense, Trey is one of the greatest offensive weapons we've ever seen in NBA history with his ability to attack the paint, dish out, make play. I think he's the best playmaker in the NBA at the moment. I don't see anyone else who I think can set up his teammates better than Trae Young does, besides maybe Luka Doncic. And Trey's an elite shooter as well. He's shot a great percentage from 3, the best of his career this year. His floater is just beautiful, the way he drives in and pulls up from the floater game. He makes the entire Hawks offense run. I think he's top 5 in on-off rating this year, showing just how horrible the Hawks are when he's not on the court. And I think the people that use the Hawks record against Trae Young are the ones who really don't really have a great understanding of basketball because, like I've said, and as great as John Moran has been, the Memphis Grizzlies are so much better than the Atlanta Hawks are. And I think if you swap to Ja and Trae, I think Memphis is just as good as they already are, if not better, because they that would be surrounding Trae with a bunch of elite defenders and Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr.
And elite shooters.
And elite shooters. I think Trae would thrive there, and I don't think the Hawks would. I think the Hawks would still be a mid to bottom tier Eastern team with Ja. But if you want to argue against that, I would love to hear it.
No, I don't really have anything. I mean, I completely agree with the Trae Young hype. I think he's just incredible. He's shown how incredible he's been this year. I mean, that Hawks team around him has been horrible. And I was actually, that was the only thing I was going to say was the on-off rating, but you got it to before me because, I mean, when you see the Hawks without Trae Young, they are just nothing. I mean, they can't get a bucket. They can't get a stop. They have no real chemistry at all around him. I mean, it's so close between those two, but I'd probably give the edge to Trae right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of years, John Morant is like one great playoff series away, like Trae Young was last year, of being a top 3-point guard in the league, in my opinion.
Yep. Agreed.
We'll move on to shooting guards. Go through this kind of quick because, I mean, the shooting guards, obviously, the point guards are a little more fun, and the shooting guards back end is not as good as the point guards back end, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
100%. You can skip through a lot of these guys. Jalen Suggs, Jalen Green are both going to be really good. I think both going to be really good someday. They're just super inefficient right now, and they need to find their groove on the floor. Isaac Okoro and Terrence Mann are both glue guys at this point in their career. I think Mann showed flashes of potential, but I don't think he's going to be anything more than a spot-up shooter and a good defender in this league. Kevin Huerter is another guy, just a 3-point shooter. Devin Vassell is actually someone I want to talk about because Devin Vassell – someone who since the Derek White trade has been really good. And I think a DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell backcourt could be really deadly over the next couple of years with Devin Vassell providing the elite 3-point shooting that DeJounte lacks. He's a great spot-up shooter. I think he's a really good defender as well. I've watched him completely take some guys out of the game on the wing. And he's finally getting the minutes to put up that level of production. I think next year we're going to see Devin Vassell be a 17 or 18 point per game kind of player.
Like a Desmond Bane kind of player, I could see.
Yes, 100%. Actually, in reevaluating, I think I'd probably put him ahead of Hamidou Diallo, although it's pretty close. Yeah, and then your next year, Grayson Allen, Evan Fournier are your spot-up shooters who are good additions on a winning team, but they're not going to provide much better than that.
Yep.
Fournier is definitely not worth 73 million. Will Barton's incredibly mediocre. The fact that he might be the second best player on the Nuggets this year is kind of sad and shows how good Jokic is.
Yeah.
But not much else to say about that. And then
So
kind
now
of
we
getting
go.
to the
Now we
best
got
of
a couple defenders right here.
yeah, kind of getting to the best of the worst here. I would say Malik Monk and Patrick Beverly kind of end that tier of like low end shooting guards. I've had defend this a couple times in the last couple of days, but I think Patrick Beverly definitely deserves a spot as the 17th best shooting guard, even though he's averaging only 9.2 points per game. But what I think he brings to the table, I think he's still a pretty good passer. And obviously his defense is among the best guards in the league at this point. Still has always been. You look at the Timberwolves defense this year. Obviously, it's just not him. Um, Jared Vanderbilt, who we'll talk about in one of the next ones, is also a great defender, and Karl Anthony Towns has improved his defense so much this year.
Yeah,
But I think a large part of that is the defensive culture that Patrick Beverly brought
that's
into this
exactly
team
what it is.
has been a huge part as to why they're being so much more successful this year. And I just think that the value that he brings as a defender and as a leader is more valuable than anything that any of the shooting guards below him do. So
Yeah.
that's why I have him as high as I do.
Josh Hart's been
And then
very
Josh Hart,
solid this year. Very good this year.
super underrated, super underrated. Like I said, he's only played I think 4 games with Portland, but he's averaging 24, 5, and 4. Him and Anthony Simons, I think, are going to be a really fun backcourt for the rest of this
Yeah,
season. Hopefully that's what they keep as their starting backcourt next year too.
I agree.
Um, this is when you're starting to get into some of the better ones. Buddy Hield, Seth Curry was a pretty close one. I think Hield's finally in a situation where he can start to show more off of what his potential is. I mean, he's already old though at this point. Like he's already 28.
Yeah,
I think he's
it's
28 or
crazy.
29 now
I feel
because
like he's still a rookie somehow.
he came into the league so late, but he's among the best 3 point shooters in the league. Even on a down year, I think he's still shooting 39% from three. And now he's on a team where he has a bigger role. And
Yeah.
Seth Curry, I love Seth Curry. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. Last night in their first game back, I think he led the Nets in scoring, even though they lost. He's just an incredible 3 point shooter. He's a great at spacing the floor. He makes a lot of great decisions. He doesn't take bad shots, and that to me is one of the most important things a player can do is good shot selection. And I love Seth for that. I think he is the biggest piece of that Nets trade that made the Nets improve with Seth Curry over Ben Simmons, 100%. After that, you're getting into a close tier. I think 13 through 10, I was really close on all
Very
those guys. I
close.
want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, before I go into explanation, out of those three, Gary Trent, Desmond Bain, Terry Rozier, Jalen Brunson, what would be your order of those four?
Yeah, it's so Close. I'd probably have Brunson 4 or 13.
Really?
I know
Wow.
you're really high on Brunson. I think his size, and I feel like he is more of a point guard kind of player where he's a guy that would like want to have the ball in his hands. And I think if he were to play the point guard role somewhere else, he'd put up similar numbers, but I think he'd be like more of like I don't know how to put it. He'd be better in like the pick and roll kind of thing. Because right now he's kind of like that bucket getter for the Dallas Mavericks next to Luka. And there's only so much you can do next to Luka Doncic as a guard, obviously. But I think if you were to put like Terry Rozier or a Desmond Bain, or even I would say Gary Trent next to Luka, I think they'd average upwards of like 20. Just because I think the opportunity of catch and shoot, which I think the other three behind him thrives like so much in. You can like both. I would say all of these guys really are really good off ball players, but I would probably put Brunson at 13. I really like Gary Trent. I really like what he can bring on both ends of the court. I've been super impressed with him in Toronto. Like he's just he's very good at everything, and he's a great glue guy. But it's funny because he's a glue guy. He brings like that glue guy mentality, but he also averages 19 a game. Which I think is super impressive. I would like to see his other stats go up a little bit. Like I think he could be a better rebounder. I think he could be a better like passer. Obviously, on the defensive side of the ball, he's probably the best out of all these guys. If we're
I
talking
think
like
Desmond
just
Bain's a better
steals, but I
defender.
was gonna say like him and Desmond Bain are really close. If I'm going like on ball defender, probably Desmond Bain. If I want to steal, I'm probably gonna go Gary Trent. I don't know. I'd probably have Bain at 10, Rozier at 12. No, I think I'd rather I think Gary Trent is more of a guy that you could put around anyone and he's going to be really good. So I think Terry Rozier is in the perfect situation next to a LaMelo Ball type player. I think they like fit really, really well. So I'd actually probably have Bain at 10. I'd probably put Trent at 11, Rozier, keep him at 12, and put Brunson at 13. But I want to hear. I think you could make a great case for Brunson. I really want to hear it.
So the thing I think that separates Brunson a little bit from these guys is you look at Gary Trent. In his offense, you could argue he's the fourth or fifth most important player behind
True.
Van Vliet, Siakam, and Scotty Barnes 100%. And then him and OG Anunoby, I would say, are close.
Yeah, I'd probably say Trent over OG right now, but it's close.
Yeah, the Hornets, Rozier is at best the third most important, and I think you could also argue for Gordon Hayward ahead of him. Desmond Bane is when Dillon Brooks is healthy, Bane is definitely 3. And I think Jaren Jackson could or will overtake him on offense once he gets his shooting touch back going after his injury. So I think like that's the difference where Jalen Brunson is without a doubt the second most important player on his team. And the like I don't know, maybe that's just like I'm thinking of it in terms of value rather than just like who's the better player, I guess. But I just think Jalen Brunson does more for the Mavericks than any of these guys do for their respective teams. I think his ability to make plays as a secondary playmaker outside of Luka, shoot the ball with great efficiency. He shoots, I think, almost, I want to say 55% from inside the line, and I think he shoots from like 37% from 3. He can score from all 3 levels, and his defense could improve a little bit, but I don't think it's at a net negative point. But yeah, I guess I think the reason I gave Brunson the edge is I just think the value he brings to the Mavericks is more than what any of these guys bring to their respective teams, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I guess that could also be situational.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because I feel like if you put the other 3 guys in Brunson's situation, the reason I put him below is because I think that the other guys could perform better than what Brunson's doing in that position. Because obviously, like next to Luka, you want like 3 and D guys. That's the best thing to put around Luka. So 2 guys like Desmond Bane and Gary Trent, I think could fit perfectly next to Luka Doncic, due to like the defense and their ability to catch and shoot. Where Brunson, I don't know, I've always seen Brunson as more of a shot creator, where he's less of a catch and shoot, more shot creator. So I think Brunson in a better opportunity. I don't know. It's very interesting. It's very close.
Brunson's also a natural point guard. I think that's something you mentioned. Like
yes,
he's not
like
meant
a Fred
to be a
VanVleet
guard.
thing.
He should be at point guard, and I think if and when he is given the chance to be his own starting point guard on his own team, I think he will thrive and prove like VanVleet is doing right now that he is that kind of guy. But I definitely get where you're coming from. These 4 guys are all so close, and I think you can order them in pretty much any way. But yeah, I like you bring up a good case.
Yeah, no, that's a good comparison though. I didn't think about like him and Fred VanVleet. Like I could see like I know they just traded for Spencer Dinwiddie to be the secondary playmaker next to Luka. So I could see Brunson going to his own team this year, maybe like a New York or a Washington. I don't know. Those are 2 absolutely random teams that I thought of off the top of my head. But
2 teams that need point guards.
Yeah, even like a Boston Celtics. I could see him going there and bringing like upping his stats to possibly like 19 and 7. And his playmaking ability gets shown off a little bit more. And next thing you know, he's in a league above these guys, like a definite league above these guys due to his playmaking ability.
That's an amazing comparison, amazing analysis, because I think if Jalen Brunson became the starting point guard for the Boston Celtics, I honestly think that they are like one of the scariest teams in the league. Like if they were able to keep Brown and Tatum and Robert Williams, which I think are their 3 key players. And you add
Al
Brunson
Horford
to that team.
No, I'm kidding.
Horford's been great this year. I hate to say it, but yeah, that's a good example.
We'll move on to this one. This one was a big toss-up for a lot of people. I know you did a poll on the story saying who would you rather have, and it was more so in favor of Clay than CJ McCollum. I think that these two are the definite 8-9, and then I think Beal and the rest of these guys are like a step ahead. I just want to hear your thoughts on this.
To me, the way I view it is Clay is a sure 9. To me, when I got to these top 9, it was Clay at 9, and then everybody else is at least a step above. At this point,
I think
Clay
at this point that makes sense. I agree.
If Clay can, because he shot the ball horribly when he came back. Yeah. And I think he's definitely improving in that. His field goal percentage, his 3-point percentage are steadily rising as he plays more games. So I think he could jump back into that tier. But as it is right now, this current moment, I don't think he's on the level of those top 8.
I agree with that.
To
I
me,
think he
McCollum and Beal was
needs. Oh,
very close.
really
Oh,
interesting.
go ahead. What were you gonna say? What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I think Clay needs Draymond Green back. I think like if
Yeah,
Draymond were to return, he could be a 23 points per game scorer and be right back to his efficiency due to
agreed.
the open looks he gets from Draymond. But right now without, I mean, has he? I don't even think he's played a game with Draymond yet. Because of the injury. So I think that's definitely playing a huge part of it. But that also just shows how great Draymond is. So it's like, because you put CJ on the Warriors in that situation, and is he averaging 25 on catch and shoots? You know what I mean? So it's very up in the air with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But continue on to your Beal and McCollum.
CJ Beal, I think we're so close to me. They're so close to me. They're two shooting guards to me who bring a lot of scoring to the table.
And not much else.
But I don't really think they necessarily impact winning in a huge way. And I think they're so close. CJ's been great in New Orleans so far. A limited sample size, but 28, 6, and 5 through 5 games is it's pretty impressive.
Amazing.
Also, it's nice seeing CJ on a team where he's like the dominant ball
Yeah,
handler.
I agree.
Like
Yeah, I love that
he's
too.
kind of while he's still a shooting guard, like he's taken over the role as like the main guy in the offense on the Pelicans.
Devontae Graham
which is
can't do
interesting to
shit there.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see because Dame was always that guy for Portland. So I think McCollum is kind of thriving in that role so far. He's looked really good. And I think if he keeps this up with New Orleans, he'll definitely jump ahead of Beal for me. Beal, I'm not a huge Beal guy. I think I think he can have the least effective 30-point game you can possibly get, or even a 40-point game, and have very little impact on the actual game. He doesn't do anything to me other than score the ball. He's not a very good defender. He's actually improved. This is his best playmaking season so far, but he's still not a very good playmaker. He's not a very good
Yeah.
rebounder. Like, I don't know. Not a huge Beal guy. We can move on.
Yeah, the reason I'm gonna give a little bit of credit to Beal over McCollum is I feel like Beal is a really good off-ball player. I think his ability to move off ball has been great. I think CJ's turned in. He has like throughout his career been a good off-ball player, but I think he's turned now into a player where he more so needs the ball in his hands to be effective. Which is why I'm happy you gave the edge to Beal over McCollum because I feel like when you're looking at your guards, Beal can be the second guard in your rotation and still be really effective. Obviously, right now he's not because he hasn't played with a good point guard since John Wall. But like CJ McCollum sitting next to Dame, he's always been good, but I feel like he can elevate his game with the ball in his hands more so. And that's why I'm happy you had Beal over McCollum for like. Yeah. And then let's go into this because I'd say these three are just they're tough.
I got a lot of hate for the Jaylen Brown under Shea. But I think I will continue to defend that. I mean, last night, did you see what Shea did last night? He had like 32 points on great efficiency.
He's great.
He's incredible. And like I just think it's so situational dependent because the Thunder are horrible. And they have really no scoring threats outside of Shea. Lou Dort is not an offensive player. He tries to be because they have no one else, but Lou Dort's not an offensive player. No. And he will never be a good offensive player. And Josh Giddey is still developing. He's not a scorer yet. He's a decent offensive player, but he's not a guy who can, he's not a guy but he's not a guy who can put the ball in the hoop yet at a good level, which leaves just Shea. And so you watch Thunder games and he gets doubled like every single time that he touches the ball. Mm-hmm. And he's great at getting out of it, but like he shoots so inefficiently this year because of how bad his team around him is. And I'm still taking him over Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's not a very good playmaker. Jaylen Brown doesn't elevate the guys around him. Jaylen Brown's a great ISO scorer, but the Celtics already have a great ISO scorer. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I like Jaylen Brown. I think there are times when he looks like he's incredible out there. And then there are games where he has 17 points on 3 of 14 from the field. So
I'm sorry. That is wild. I swear to God, that was the exact number that I was thinking of too. When you said 3 of 14, really? I literally thought that was just weird, but continue.
Even in games when Shea isn't shooting well, I think he brings enough to the table where he's still a positive impact on his team. And then in games when Jaylen Brown is not shooting well, I don't think he helps the Celtics at all. So I guess that's part of my reasoning.
Do you have Zach LaVine closer to Shea or Zach LaVine closer to Booker and Mitchell?
Booker and Mitchell.
Cool.
He's a step above Shea and Jaylen, but he still lacks the playoff experience and the and the been there, done that before kind of mentality that Booker and Mitchell both have. Both of them have had playoff success in the past. Levine has never been in the playoffs, so
And then
we'll see. Levine has a chance to jump them, but he's not there
you
yet.
had Donovan Mitchell over Devin Booker. That is something I never thought I'd honestly see you say. It's very interchangeable, but let's hear the thought process behind that.
Like I said, they're so close. This might be the closest one out of anything on any of my lists is
I
Booker
agree.
and Mitchell. But as I said right there, Mitchell's a better playmaker, slightly, not that by that much, but I think he develops, he dishes out to his teammates better, and also that might just be because Devin Booker has Chris Paul in his offense, who does
Yep.
that for the most part, so Booker doesn't need to do that. So that's a great rebuttal to that, and I don't even have anything to say to that because that's a great point. And then I
You're
think
making points against yourself. That's just funny.
yeah, no, but it's true. That's how close they are. And then
Yeah.
I think Mitchell's been more efficient this year, which like again, it's small. It's small. It's a small difference. I think I was looking. Mitchell's true shooting plus is 102, and Booker's is 99. So like
Yep.
Mitchell is just slightly above average efficiency. Booker slightly below average, and when the two players are that close, that's a big enough difference for me to say Mitchell 2 and Booker 3 because they're both incredible scorers, both poor defenders, um, both can score literally anywhere on the court, and just mediocre playmakers. I don't think either of them is an elite playmaker, but they both can make plays for their teammates. It's so close. It's so close.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this because you could definitely make the point that when Devin Booker didn't have Chris Paul, he was averaging 7 assists a game. Obviously, his turnover rate was way higher than it is now because he was doing like
Mhm.
1.5 to 1 ratio assist to turnover. But I mean, he's still it's such a close. I feel like it just literally depends on the game, like who's better. Because if Devin Booker's having an off
Yeah,
night, I'll take Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell can have an off night. I'll take Devin Booker. It's so close between those two.
100%. And
And then you
James
have
remains number one.
yep,
Fear the beard. Fear the beard. That
Fear the
wasn't even
Beard.
close to me. And I had a comment I remember saying where people were like Mitchell and Booker ahead of Harden. Nope. Nope. They're great scorers, but Harden does everything better. Harden does everything better. I mean,
Yeah.
Harden's like that. Like I said, top 2 rebounding guard with DeJounte. Top 5 playmaker with Trey, Luca, Curry, Chris Paul. That's probably your top 5 playmakers this year.
Yeah.
The
I
Jokic actually. Never mind Jokic.
oh
Jokic over
yeah,
Chris
no,
Paul.
that's I forgot about Jokic.
Um, and let's not forget it was only 2 years ago where he was averaging over 30 points per game. So
It's ridiculous
we'll
how
see
the
if he can get
narrative
back to that.
how fast the narrative can change in a player. But before we go, that was a fantastic summary of all the rankings and why you have who where, and even that you can see arguments for other people. Before we go, one quick question. What will James Harden's stat line look like tonight in his first game as a 76er? And how
I
much do the 76ers win by?
I got that same question by my friends last night. I'll give you the same answer. 28, 7, and 7.
Okay. And
28,
they
7, and
win
7.
by or
Sixers
does
by
Anthony
22.
Edwards put up 60 and it ruins the 76ers
Sixers
first game?
Sixers by 20. Sixers by 22.
Oh wow,
Blowout.
you think it's a blowout?
Blowout. Timberwolves coming off a back-to-back against a tough team in Memphis.
Hey, all I know
Sixers are
is
well rested. It's been a week. They're hyped. They're feeling it. Blowout.
fair
You
point.
know, Embiid's playing against his son. Embiid's playing against his son. Carl
Oh
Anthony
my
Towns
gosh.
can't hold a candle up to Embiid.
Oh,
It's
fair enough,
over.
fair
It's
enough. Hey,
over.
but all I know is you're
Throw
not
all the
saying
money.
anything.
Throw all the money on him.
I don't see anything saying D'Angelo Russell's not going to put up 25 in the fourth quarter again. So
Oh, he will. Oh, he will. He will.
still a top
That's
5
the one.
point guard
That's
in
the
the
one
league.
area we got to worry about. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who made a comment. The comments were fantastic this one. So let's keep that up for the next time. And tune in for the next podcast. It'll probably be over a week from now. I am going to, if anyone's in the Clemson University area, let me know because I'll be heading to Clemson University tomorrow for the next week for rowing. But yeah, after that, we'll be right back on our podcast grind and everything like that.
And stay tuned because sooner or later we will be doing a draft. 8 of us,
Yes.
2 of us with a couple of our friends, a couple other people.
Possibly our dads.
Be doing potentially a draft of the all NBA 75 list plus a few wild cards on there to make 8 teams of 10, which I'm very excited to do. We just got to figure out the timing for it and get the right amount of people. But stay tuned for that. That should be coming sometime in the next few weeks.
Exactly. Fun and exciting things coming up. And keep a close eye on the Instagram page because it has been going crazy recently, and we are not going to stop this grind. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a blast. This has been Backcourt Press once again, and we will see you